Welcome to the Transportation Business Consultant Certification Program, presented by Hauling Power. In this module, we will begin exploring the structure of the trucking industry and the key systems that support transportation companies. For additional resources related to this program, please visit haulingpower.com.
The transportation industry is one of the largest industries in the United States, yet many people only see one side of it driving trucks. This program was created to expand that perspective. Inside this course, you will learn how the trucking industry operates, how transportation companies are formed, and how service-based businesses support carriers across the industry. More importantly, this course focuses on helping you shift from simply learning information to understanding how that knowledge can be used to create real opportunities. Instead of asking, "How do I get into trucking?" you will begin thinking, "How can I help others enter the industry? How can I build services that support transportation companies? How can I organize this knowledge into consulting, training, or guidance for others?"
The goal of this program is not only to help you understand the transportation industry, but to help you recognize the value of industry knowledge and how it can be used to build professional opportunities. Participants will also receive guidance on how to identify and connect with potential clients, which is often one of the most challenging parts of starting a service-based business. By the end of this course, you should have a clearer understanding of the transportation industry and how knowledge within the industry can be structured into consulting, services, or educational opportunities. Mindset shifts in this program. This program encourages a shift in how you view the transportation industry. Instead of seeing trucking as only driving a truck, you will begin to recognize the many opportunities that exist around supporting transportation businesses. Instead of only learning information, you will begin to think about how knowledge can be organized and shared to assist others entering the industry. Instead of asking how to enter the industry alone, you will begin thinking about how to create opportunities for yourself while helping others build theirs. Course objectives. This program is designed to provide a structured understanding of the transportation industry and the opportunities that exist within it. Throughout this course, participants will develop a practical understanding of how transportation businesses operate and how industry knowledge can be used to assist others entering the field. By the end of this program, participants should be able to understand the structure of the trucking and transportation industry, explain how transportation companies are formed and registered, identify the systems and agencies that regulate the industry, recognize service opportunities that support transportation companies, organize industry knowledge into consulting, support services, or training opportunities. What you will learn. Throughout this program, you will learn about key systems, processes, and opportunities within the transportation industry. Topics covered include the structure of the trucking and transportation industry, the role of federal agencies such as the FMCSA, the process of establishing transportation companies, basic compliance and regulatory requirements, service-based opportunities within the industry, methods for organizing industry knowledge into consulting or training. Course structure. This program is divided into several modules designed to gradually build your understanding of the transportation industry and the opportunities within it. Module 1. Understanding the trucking industry. Module 2. Transportation company formation. Module 3. Compliance and regulatory systems. Module 4. Transportation service opportunities. Module 5. Building consulting and support services. Module 6. Organizing and teaching industry knowledge. Module 7. Client development and industry networking. Module 1. Understanding the trucking industry. Lesson 1. What the trucking industry is. Lesson 2. Key players in transportation. Lesson 3. Overview of the FMCSA. Lesson 4. Using the SAFER website to research companies. For additional resources, please visit these important industry websites. Understanding the trucking industry. The transportation industry plays a critical role in the movement of goods across the United States. Nearly every product used by businesses and consumers relies on some form of transportation to reach its destination. While many people associate trucking primarily with driving, the industry actually consists of many different roles and support systems that help transportation companies operate successfully. Understanding how the industry is structured is the first step toward identifying opportunities within it. This module will introduce the basic structure of the trucking industry, the key participants involved in transportation, and the regulatory agencies that oversee the industry. Lesson 1. What is the trucking industry? The trucking industry is responsible for transporting goods across cities, states, and regions. Trucks move freight between manufacturers, warehouses, distribution centers, and retail locations. In the United States, Trucks move the majority of freight transported on land. This makes the trucking industry one of the most important parts of the national supply chain. Trucking companies, also known as carriers, operate commercial vehicles to transport goods for shippers who need products delivered. These companies may operate locally, regionally, or across the entire country depending on their authority and operating structure. Because of the scale of transportation in the United States, many additional services exist to support carriers, including administrative services, consulting, compliance assistance, and logistics coordination. This creates opportunities for individuals who want to work within the industry without necessarily operating a truck. Lesson 2. Key participants in the transportation industry. Several different parties are involved in moving freight within the trucking industry. Carriers. Carriers are companies that own or operate trucks used to transport goods. They are responsible for moving freight from one location to another. Carriers must comply with federal regulations and obtain operating authority before transporting freight across state lines. Shippers. Shippers are the companies that need goods transported. These may include manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, or retailers. Shippers rely on transportation companies to deliver products to warehouses, stores, or other business locations. Brokers. Freight brokers act as intermediaries between shippers and carriers. A broker helps connect companies that need freight transported with carriers that have trucks available to move that freight. Brokers do not operate trucks themselves but facilitate transportation by arranging shipments. Support services. Many additional services exist to support carriers and transportation companies. Examples include authority setup assistance, compliance and safety consulting, dispatch services, administrative support services, training and educational services. These support roles help transportation companies operate efficiently and maintain compliance with industry regulations. Lesson 3. The role of the FMCSA. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, is the federal agency responsible for regulating commercial motor carriers in the United States. The FMCSA establishes safety regulations, monitors carrier compliance, and oversees the registration of transportation companies that operate commercial vehicles. Many of the systems used in the trucking industry are managed through the FMCSA, including carrier registration and safety monitoring. Official website https://www.fmcsa.gov. This website provides information on regulations, safety programs, and registration systems used within the industry. Understanding the role of the FMCSA is important for anyone working within the transportation industry. Lesson 4. Using the SAFER website to research companies. The SAFER system is a public database that allows individuals to look up registered motor carriers. This system provides information about transportation companies, including their operating authority status and safety records. SAFER website https://safer.fmcsa.gov. By searching a company name, DOT number, or MC number, users can view important details about a carrier. This tool is commonly used within the transportation industry to verify that a company is properly registered and authorized to operate. Learning how to navigate this system helps provide insight into how transportation companies are identified and monitored within the industry. Module 1 Summary. In this module, you are introduced to the basic structure of the trucking industry and the key participants involved in the movement of freight. You learned about the role of carriers, brokers, and shippers, as well as the regulatory oversight provided by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Understanding these foundational elements will help prepare you for the next module, where we will explore how transportation companies are formed and how operating authority is obtained. Module 1 Activity. Exploring the FMCSA and SAFER systems. This activity will help you become familiar with two important systems used within the trucking industry: the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, website and the SAFER Company Snapshot database. These systems are widely used within the transportation industry to verify carrier information and learn about how trucking companies are registered and monitored. Step 1. Visit the FMCSA website. Open your browser and go to https://www.fmcsa.gov. Take a few minutes to explore the website. As you browse, try to identify sections related to carrier registration, safety regulations, industry resources. In the next slide, we'll see exactly what that looks like. Step 3. Identify key information. While reviewing the FMCSA website, try to locate information related to the following: carrier registration, safety regulations, operating authority, resources for new carriers. Take note of where these sections appear on the website and how they are organized. Reflection questions. After exploring the FMCSA website, consider the following questions. What role does the FMCSA play in the trucking industry? What types of information does the FMCSA provide to transportation companies? Why might it be important for transportation professionals to understand this website? Take a minute to record your answers. Consultant insight. Transportation consultants and industry professionals often use the FMCSA website as a primary source of information when assisting individuals who want to start or operate trucking companies. Understanding how to navigate the FMCSA website allows you to guide others toward the correct regulatory resources and helps build a stronger understanding of how transportation companies are regulated in the United States. In the next lesson, you will learn how to research transportation companies using the Safer Company Snapshot System. Module 1 Activity: Practicing with the Safer Company Snapshot System. In this activity, you will practice using the Safer Company Snapshot System, which is commonly used in the trucking industry to research transportation companies and verify their registration information. Step 1. Visit the Safer website. Open your browser and go to https://safer.fmcsa.gov. On the Safer homepage, locate the section labeled Company Snapshot. Click the link that says Company Snapshot. This is the area used to search for registered motor carriers. Step 3. Review the company snapshot. Once you locate a company, review the information displayed on the company snapshot page. You should see information such as USDOT number, MC number, if applicable, company address, operating status, power units, drivers, safety information. Take a moment to observe how the system organizes and displays this information. Let's review Safer together using FedEx as reference. Reflection questions. After completing the activity, consider the following. What information were you able to find about the company? Why might transportation professionals use this system? How could this tool help when researching transportation companies? Take a minute to reflect on the questions. Module 2. Transportation Company Formation. In the previous module, you were introduced to the structure of the trucking industry and the key participants involved in the movement of freight. In this module, we will begin exploring how transportation companies are established and what is required for a company to operate as a motor carrier. Operating a transportation company involves more than simply owning a truck. Companies must register with federal or state agencies and obtain the appropriate authority to legally transport freight. Understanding how transportation companies are formed is essential for anyone working within the industry, especially for individuals who plan to assist others in starting transportation businesses. This module will introduce the basic concepts of operating authority and explain the difference between interstate and intrastate operations. Lesson 1. What is operating authority? Operating authority is permission granted by a regulatory agency that allows a company to operate as a motor carrier. In the United States, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, regulates carriers that transport freight across state lines. When a company plans to operate as a motor carrier, it must register with the appropriate agency and obtain the necessary identification numbers. These identification numbers help track transportation companies and ensure that they meet safety and regulatory requirements. Two of the most commonly referenced numbers in the trucking industry are the USDOT number and the motor carrier, MC, number. Lesson 2. USDOT number. A USDOT number is a unique identifier assigned to transportation companies by the FMCSA. This number is used to monitor safety information, inspections, compliance reviews, and other regulatory activities. Most commercial carriers operating in interstate commerce are required to obtain a USDOT number. Some states also require intrastate carriers to obtain a USDOT number for state-level monitoring. The USDOT number is one of the primary identifiers used to track motor carriers within the transportation industry. Lesson 3. MC number, Motor Carrier Authority. An MC number, also known as Motor Carrier Authority, authorizes a company to transport regulated freight across state lines for hire. This type of authority is typically required when a company is operating as a for-hire carrier in interstate commerce. Unlike a USDOT number, which is used primarily for safety tracking, the MC number grants the legal authority to transport freight for compensation across state lines. Companies that operate only within one state may not require an MC number, depending on state regulations. Lesson 4. Interstate versus intrastate operations. Understanding the difference between interstate and intrastate operations is important when determining what type of authority a transportation company needs. Interstate. Interstate transportation occurs when freight is transported across state lines. For example, a shipment moving from Texas to Oklahoma would be considered interstate commerce. Carriers operating in interstate commerce must register with the FMCSA and obtain the appropriate federal authority. Intrastate. Intrastate transportation occurs when freight is transported entirely within one state. For example, a shipment picked up and delivered within Texas would be considered intrastate commerce. Intrastate carriers are typically regulated by state transportation agencies rather than the FMCSA. Requirements for intrastate operations may vary depending on the state. Lesson 5. The Unified Registration System, ORS. The Unified Registration System, ORS, is the system used by the FMCSA for registering new transportation companies and applying for operating authority. This system allows companies to apply for a USDOT number and request operating authority through an online registration process. The ORS system is one of the primary tools used when forming a new transportation company that plans to operate in interstate commerce. Understanding how this system works is important for anyone assisting others with transportation company formation. Module 2 Activity. Exploring the FMCSA registration system. In this activity, you will locate the section of the FMCSA website used to register transportation companies. Step 1. Visit the FMCSA website, https://www.fmcsa.gov. Step 2. Locate the section related to carrier registration or operating authority. This section contains information about applying for USDOT numbers. Motor Carrier Authority. Registration requirements. Step 3. Take a moment to review the information provided about registering transportation companies. Pay attention to how the FMCSA explains the authority process and the types of registrations available. Consultant Insight. Transportation consultants often assist new business owners in understanding the authority process and navigating the registration systems used by regulatory agencies. Developing a clear understanding of how operating authority works allows consultants to guide others through the early stages of forming transportation companies. Module 2 Summary. In this module, you learned about the process of establishing transportation companies and the role of operating authority in the trucking industry. You were introduced to the USDOT number, Motor Carrier Authority, and the difference between interstate and intrastate operations. Understanding these concepts will prepare you for the next module, where we will explore additional compliance requirements that transportation companies must meet before operating. Module 3. Compliance and Regulatory Systems. Module 3 Introduction. In the previous module, you learned how transportation companies are formed and how operating authority is obtained. However, obtaining authority is only the beginning. Before a transportation company can begin operating legally, several compliance requirements must be completed. These compliance systems are designed to promote safety, ensure accountability, and maintain regulatory oversight within the trucking industry. For transportation consultants, understanding these requirements is essential because many new carriers are unfamiliar with the compliance process and often require guidance navigating these systems. In this module, you will learn about several of the most important compliance requirements for motor carriers and how transportation consultants may assist clients in understanding these responsibilities. Lesson 1. Understanding carrier compliance. Compliance refers to the process of meeting regulatory requirements established by government agencies. For trucking companies operating in interstate commerce, many of these requirements are established by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA. Compliance responsibilities may include maintaining proper insurance coverage, registering with regulatory systems, participating in safety programs, maintaining driver records, following federal safety regulations. Failure to maintain compliance can lead to penalties, fines, or suspension of operating authority. Because of this, many new carriers seek guidance from individuals who understand the compliance process. Lesson 2. Insurance requirements for motor carriers. Before a carrier's operating authority becomes active, proof of insurance must be filed with the FMCSA. Insurance protects both the carrier and the public in the event of accidents, cargo damage, or liability claims. Most interstate carriers must maintain commercial liability insurance. Insurance companies submit proof of coverage to the FMCSA through electronic filings. Until these filings are received and approved, the carrier's authority will remain inactive. Transportation consultants often help new carriers understand when insurance is required and how the filing process works. Activity. Understanding insurance requirements. Visit the FMCSA website, https://www.fmcsa.gov. Locate information related to insurance requirements for motor carriers. After reviewing the information, answer the following. Why is insurance required before authority becomes active? Who submits proof of insurance to the FMCSA? What risks does insurance help protect against? Write down your answers as part of your course notes. Lesson 3. BOC3 Process Agent Filing. A BOC3 filing designates a process agent for a motor carrier. A process agent is an individual or company that can receive legal documents on behalf of a transportation company. Federal regulations require carriers operating under FMCSA authority to designate process agents in each state where they operate. This filing is typically completed through a third-party process agent service. Without a BOC3 filing, a carrier's authority will not become active. Transportation consultants often explain this requirement to new carriers and direct them to authorized filing services. Activity. Identifying BOC3 services. Search online for BOC3 filing services. Locate at least 2 companies that provide BOC3 filings. Write down the name of the company, the approximate cost of the filing, how the service is submitted. This activity helps you understand how carriers typically complete this requirement. Lesson 4. Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. The Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse is a federal database that tracks violations related to drug and alcohol testing for commercial drivers. Employers and owner-operators must register with the clearinghouse and follow reporting and query requirements. The clearinghouse helps ensure that drivers with unresolved violations are not operating commercial vehicles without completing required return-to-duty processes. Transportation companies must also participate in a drug and alcohol testing program. Understanding this system is important when assisting individuals who plan to operate commercial vehicles. Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse Compliance. The FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse is a federal database that tracks violations related to drug and alcohol testing for commercial drivers. This system helps ensure that drivers who fail drug or alcohol tests are not operating commercial vehicles until they complete the required return to duty process. Any company that operates commercial vehicles requiring a commercial driver's license, CDL, must follow clearinghouse requirements when hiring drivers and during ongoing employment. Understanding how the clearinghouse works is essential for transportation companies and for consultants who assist carriers with compliance. When a trucking company must use the clearinghouse, trucking companies must use the clearinghouse when hiring new CDL drivers, conducting annual driver compliance checks, reporting drug or alcohol violations, confirming that a driver is eligible to operate a commercial vehicle. Failure to follow clearinghouse rules can result in serious penalties for the motor carrier. Pre-employment query requirement. Before hiring a CDL driver, a trucking company must perform a clearinghouse query. A query is a search of the clearinghouse database to determine whether a driver has any recorded drug or alcohol violations. This step is required before the driver can perform safety-sensitive duties. Driver consent. Before a trucking company can run a query, the driver must provide electronic consent within the clearinghouse system. The process typically works as follows. Step 1. The carrier submits a query request. Step 2. The driver receives a notification from the clearinghouse. Step 3. The driver logs into their clearinghouse account. Step 4. The driver provides consent for the query. Step 5. The carrier receives the query result. Without the driver's consent, the carrier cannot legally run the query. Please take a moment to look at the types of clearinghouse queries.